What's going on, peeps? I don't tend to go to a lot of stand-up comedy shows, but I'd certainly love to go to a Bo Burnham show. Why? Because he not only does comedy, he can also play music. Sounds like a show that could tick off all my boxes. Given the fact he hasn't been on an official tour in 8 years with no intention of returning to the stage, I'm not sure if that'll ever happen. It does make sense. Bo appears to be a private, anxious person that constantly abandons social media and only does interviews when promoting a new project. So we're gonna leave him alone, let him cook and enjoy himself. Instead, I want to dive into the mostly satirical musical output he has given us throughout his decade-long career. I plan to cover his 4 albums, musical skills, and journey overall. Just a heads up to people unfamiliar with Bo, there will likely be offensive and touching subjects discussed. So let's get out of our seats, have ourselves a laugh, and get started. At the age of 3, Robert Burnham was performing skits at home for his family, growing up listening to comedians like George Carlin and Richard Pryor. By 2006, he began rehearsing plays at St. John's Preparatory School, writing songs about teenage angst and sharing them with his high school friends. Shortly after, Bo launched his online career when he opened up his YouTube channel on July 11th, 2006. He taught himself how to play the piano during his high school years without knowing how to read or write music. He appears to be a natural talent when it comes to music, even if his singing voice was still quite flat and nasal. You can't knock a kid who self-taught and turned out this impressive. Anyway, it appears that this whole comedy music thing was supposed to be a complete joke. During December 2006, he wanted to show his older brother Pete 2 songs he had written, who was at university at the time. One of his friends suggested he'd film himself performing the songs in his bedroom and post them on YouTube, which was quite a new thing at the time. These would be recorded by himself, mostly in his bedroom, at his family's home in Hamilton, Massachusetts. His first song, My Whole Family, played on his personal keyboard, quickly gained popularity when it was shared on Break.com 2 months later. I've definitely heard this one before. I remember my old friend sending me a meme using this song played over a badly drawn doodle of one of my other friends. With that being said, this song is absolutely genius. It's catchy. Bo's delivery is splendid, especially when he says, "Boys." If you haven't heard it, it's about this kid who wonders why everyone thinks he is gay. I was John Elway, now I'm Elton John. Even his boyfriend thinks he's gay. Wait, what? Either way, he spends the rest of the track trying to convince everyone he isn't gay, while just happening to embody all the stereotypes. The live version is even better, the crowd reaction is just amazing. Thanks for coming out! I can definitely see why it went viral. This is classic YouTube gold that likely wouldn't work at any other time. He made his return to YouTube in March with a love ballad to prove he's not gay, where this dude finds love with an 83-year-old grandma. After she dies right next to him, we find out that he was a literal child when this all happened. Safe to say that Bo's lyrical topics aren't safe in the slightest. The rapid success only inspired him to continue to pump out comedic songs with clever wordplay and dark and taboo topics. These satirical songs would go on to address issues like homophobia, mental illness, sexism, and racism, using shock value for social commentary. Yes, believe it or not, it's all a character and not just a 2000s high schooler trying to be edgy. I've always seen him as a comedian that mocks comedy. This content garnered over 80,000 subscribers in 2008, making him one of YouTube's earliest stars. Just a kid in his bedroom, writing songs and playing them. At the age of 17, he signed a 4-record deal with Comedy Central Records, following a performance in London for Comedy Central's The World Stands Up, becoming the youngest person to do so in January of 2008. Basically, he accidentally became famous. On the side, he ended up making the honor roll for his school and participated in theater in the campus ministry program, graduating in 2008. He was accepted into New York University's Tech School of the Arts for experimental theater, but differed for a year to pursue comedy and never attended. Bo released his first EP, Bo for Show, as an online-only album on June 17th, 2008. It's pretty much a parody of rap music at the time. The title track includes all the basic slang and stereotypes about taking your girl, objectifying women, doing drugs, drinking, and being a gangster. The metaphors he pulls out are quite absurd. I bust more nuts than a what junkie? I get more ass than a giant donkey stable, got more lines than Whitney Houston's coffee table, give me the bottle, I'll chug 2/3, cause you bitches know fractions, speak louder than words. Life-changing wordplay right here, just straight bars. All on top of the most basic garage band percussion on the market. I love how he had to end by stating, that's a rap. 314 Apple Pie is pretty much the same thing except it's a lot more offensive. Luckily, I don't mind dark humor. He literally starts off the track saying, what up my N-words? I knew I was in for a treat. I got rhymes and flows that make Hitler cry, cause the girls that I date have a particular taste, the taste of my wiener. The delivery on that line is excellent. Safe to say, I was caught off guard. Bo is about as convincing as a gangster as Pat Monahan is. He's just a white Massachusetts guy playing a guitar with funny facial expressions. Whore is about, well, a female whore. Cause if beauty's on the inside, you might as well go inside me. Who needs feminism with an ass like this? Bo's got a point. I'm kidding, guys, please. This leads to the second verse where she meets a party hard frat guy with similar levels of low dignity. They appear to be a perfect match. I expect a divorce in the next few years based on his plans for abuse. High School Party is a combination of both song topics where he parodies hip-hop artists' over-sexualization from the perspective of a senior boy who only likes drinking soda. This is until he sees a sad, drunk girl in a crowded room that reminds him of what? Anyway, they spend the rest of the night engaging in, you know what, until, plot twist, none of this happened because the loser wasn't even invited to the party. Bo was really trying to cram as much complex sexual innuendos as possible on this one. This video is going to get demonetized. Lastly, Sunday School is probably directed towards me. Yeah, it's an over-the-top Sunday service pastor with dirty laundry behind closed doors trying to preach the gospel. He's gay for Jesus. That's all I need to say. He was raised Catholic but no longer follows the faith, making it clear that his comedy is intended to poke fun at everybody. I'm talking religion, race, sex, class, etc. No strays. For the rest of the year, he started doing more live performances while recording his debut self-titled live album. His piano playing has significantly improved thanks to countless hours of practice dedicated to perfecting these shows. The album was released on March 10th, 2009 with 3 studio cuts and 10 live recordings of his earlier tracks performed on piano and sometimes guitar. As expected, it gets quite out of pocket. The stage persona of Bo is quite unhinged. He literally threatens to kill his audience for singing his songs at shows. I'm Bo-Yo has the same hip-hop mockery style with some interesting punchlines. Apparently he doesn't even know where the G-spot is, cause I'm not homophobic, my morals are straight, and if I'm in the closet, you are below me. Cause girls are like donuts when I be bustin' Bo nuts. This is some late 2000s humor right here. Love is about how much Bo loves someone. Isn't that so cute? It's cute until you read the way he loves this girl. And I want you, like JFK wanted a car with a roof, like boys tossing salad needs a little bit of Neverland Ranch, and I want you like Anne Frank wanted nobody to read her fucking diary. He goes on to ramble about slavery, Holocaust, and wow, this song went off the rails. Plus, if you want to hear about Adolf's backstory, just check out the bonus track. Moral of the story, love is about whistles. Speaking of love, who would you say is the perfect woman? To Bo, it's Helen Keller, because she doesn't talk much. Let's move on to Clan Cookout. Are you kidding me? I can see why it's not on Spotify because wow. I hope new math isn't offensive. Never mind, it's basically him making a bunch of math references that get more offensive as it goes. Now welcome to the Rehab Center for Fictional Characters where Kris Kringle and Tony Tiger are sex addicts, Santa Claus is a misogynist, Patrick O'Reilly is an alcoholic, and the Easter Bunny is a drug addict. I'd hate the work of this center. Welcome to YouTube is a great summary of YouTube during that time and what it did to people, including losing your college scholarship and being disowned by your parents. That key change line was so clever, by the way. Against all odds, This record went gold in the United States and charted in the top 200, reaching number 1 on the comedy albums chart. To the shock of no one, Bo completely regrets the music he made during that era, especially after his shows started getting protested. Burnham would shift from YouTube to stand-up comedy, blending his comedy songs with traditional routines. On May 21st, 2010, he recorded his first one-hour special, Words, 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 at the House of Blues in Boston for Comedy Central's House of Comedy series. It aired on October 16th, 2010, and was available for purchase 2 days later. It became his highest charting live album, debuting at number 40. What's Funny introduces the show, bracing the audience for some out-of-pocket subject matter, as well as additional information about him that nobody needs to know. His wife is a whore and has a black friend named Jamal. It's actually Steve. This brings us to Ex-Girlfriend Racial Humor, which isn't even a song, it's more like a mental breakdown filled with dark humor. Men and women state how women are always right. Never mind, aren't. Through various clever analogies, he illustrates how the sexes are the same and different sometimes. Think about it, guys. Women can fake orgasms, and men can fake love. We're one of the same after all. Apparently, Bo is an experienced one-man showman where he does a scene from each show he did in the past, including the Catholic orgasm, Charlie Brown getting the of graft, and Bulldog Man. Like Johnny Cash once said, he's been everywhere, man. Ironic is about things he has done that would be certainly considered ironic, like dating an animal rights activist while eating baby cow meat. He then confesses that Bob Barker got his pets pregnant. Then he was visiting his grandpa with Alzheimer's, and Binary Reality is a messy section of jokes that go from racism to Disney princess movies to questions people don't want to ask. Seriously though, why is Pluto just a dog? The title track sees the return of Bo-Yo, where he gives us some ridiculous puns. I'm a gay sea otter, I blow other dudes out of the water, fucked a girl in an apple orchard, then came inside her. It's a complete mess if you can tell, but damn if those bars aren't clever. Bo then stops for a prayer, something I can get on board with. The temptations of lesbianism. Amen! I don't know who is asking Bo how we can fix Africa, but if he is telling us laughter works, that must be the answer. After getting that piece of knowledge and prayer out of the way, Bo gave us some incredible ironic haikus. Tally Hall reference? And then he performs in imaginary but inspired by real poems, Sonnet 155, while criticizing Shakespeare for not being a genuine artist. After 20 minutes in GarageBand, he produced a rant on his Catholic school he attended. As someone who also went to one, I didn't think it was that bad. I must have had it good. The rambles continue with bizarrely specific statistics like the Jonas Brothers being 1/3 diabetic and dick jokes. Art is Dead is the most popular song on the entire album, for a reason, as it doesn't have the same offensive humor we've been hearing throughout this journey. It takes on a topic of how attention and commercialization has ruined an artist's true passion. He feels this guilt about his career in general, where he could have been spending his well-earned money helping out struggling kids, and instead he used it to further elevate himself. Success becomes more of an addiction than an actual passion-led reward. He feels bad for exploiting people into believing he's a man who is larger than life when he's really just a kid. This is why he informs his fans what his shows are to make sure they know what they're signing up for. The song helps ease his anxiety from fame. I respect the honesty because, let's be honest, there aren't a lot of artists who would admit this. I can now see why Bo doesn't mind being out of the spotlight, and why he has such a dedicated fanbase today. After that serious piece, he tries to be a traditional stand-up comedian that beats his wife. Then we ended off with a classic mockery of modern hip-hop stereotypes on Oh Bo in comparison to the heavy topics those older acts talked about in the past. Why should I donate to the poor when I can just buy another Ferrari? Unfortunately, this song has aged well. The next couple years, Bo was involved in several films, published a New York Times bestseller, and toured across the United States. Burnham's second special, What?, premiered on Netflix and YouTube on December 17th, 2013. He spent 3 years writing the special just to make it free. Bo introduces his show with 9 minutes of complete chaos. The narrator starts off making fun of him while Bo looks on in confusion. Now, under a contract, this isn't just a passion for Bo anymore. It's It's a contract obligation, so dance, monkey. Did he predict the Tones and I song? It's as if he has this deep knowledge about the industry and embeds subtle hints within his music. Over time, these hints unfold into events happening in the present day. Everything he does in his shows are planned, including knocking over his water and taking off his pants. Then he stares at a random audience member for a long period of time. I wonder how that person felt. Eventually he becomes a lizard and shows how good of a singer he is with no auto-tune at all. He finally settles down after a performance that'll likely have you saying, "What?" This leads him to setting the world on fire and singing a sad song about tragic or ironic things he's seen. He saw a boy with red hair. That's pretty sad, right? Oh. A homeless man named Rich, a giraffe with a short neck, a one-eyed man in a 3D movie. His solution? Laughter. The key to everything. 9/11 and the Holocaust? They're funny now. Or at least, that's what South Park says. I loved when he was about to talk crap about video editors before editing out the rant in post. His next rant is about sluts, and how one broke his heart, so now he's gotta shame all these hoes and whores. He says they are worthless, but he still gets with them anyway. Totally not ironic. I'm surprised Future and Drake haven't sampled this, honestly. It truly points out the irony of those male slut shamers who may be sluts themselves. Because after all, they engage in the same culture. He's certainly not holier than these hoes. The gospel of Future says, "And I say upon to you, she is for the streets." You weren't supposed to join the streets. Bo's troubles are examined by a doctor who splits his brain in half for a treatment. His left brain is the logical part of himself, and his right brain is the creative part of himself. We get to see these halves clash and banter until settling with the idea that they need to do comedy together to make Bo happy again. When Tyler Joseph said sometimes to stay alive you gotta kill your mind, maybe this is what he meant. Pretty deep, am I right? Speaking of deep, he pretty much mocks people who make these fake deep topics to seem all-knowing or garner clicks. It starts pretty light in tone with statements about Jesus walking on water, but can he swim on land? Until we get a statement about, if life makes you wish you were deep, just put on a good movie, then promptly put a bullet in your head. Taking his own life to live the dream forever. A dream that he realizes isn't worth it in comparison to a normal life. Wait, I thought we were mocking being deep. This is actually deep. Huh. Poems reminds me of the Haku's track from the last record where he reads out quite threatening poems that would impress your average middle schooler in the early 2010s. We get the chance to hear from God's perspective where I guess to God we're just a bad game of Sims. You fools really think you're going to heaven? Ha! Nope. You should instead try to be a better person, even without the guidance of the Bible. Just be good people. Bo doesn't follow God's advice and randomly screams about how stupid women are before telling a story about a frog named Andy. He is a frog who has never left his pond, sees a beautiful frog cross the water, and sets off to find her. He encounters a crocodile that ominously talks about eating frogs. In the end, Andy meets a grim fate with the crocodile. The story paints how irrelevant these events are to human life, where we sometimes wonder what an animal's life is like. Repeat Stuff gives constructive criticism of pop music at the time that he feels like is almost totally soulless and empty. This boardroom written, corporate, vague music with potential Illuminati connections. Bo uses all the cliches that writers come up with to appeal to a mass audience before getting to the straightforward, catchy chorus that is the only part people end up remembering. To make it easier, the hook is repeated to make it stick in the brain more. This is sadly aged well due to the TikTok consumption of music nowadays. Instead of the chorus, it's a 7-second sample of a trend we know. I do find it funny that Justin Bieber was in the crowd for one of Bo's shows. Other notable incidents from the show include Bo hyping up the crowd about what he did last night, so much just to say, "I cried myself to sleep," and pretending to beat off in A minor. The key. Don't worry, he didn't commit a crime on stage besides public masturbating. Ending off with, "We think we know you," that is directed towards his own personal life, where he clearly has people in his life that think they know who he is based on his stage persona and career success. The popular girl that ignored Bo in high school suddenly wants Bo after he finds success from comedy. The Hollywood agent seeing Bo's influence and encourages him to take advantage of his Gen Z, internet-obsessed audience for financial gain. Keep the brand alive. The last person is the jock boy that assumes Bo has changed due to his fame when he is really just jealous and bitter. All three assumptions of ego, greed, and lust surround him before he becomes a human soundboard. He plays their comments out loud for his audience to see how people have been treating him, giving us a look into the miserable dark side of being a popular contract-obligated comedian as the show closes out. His third special, Make Happy, was produced by Netflix and released on June 3rd, 2016. As much as I want to talk about this special, it's technically not part of a live album, which was my whole plan for this video. It's not classified as such in its discography. Sadly, I'll be skipping it. Let me know if it's worth covering in another video. All I'll say is, as a fan of country music, that parody of the genre is sadly accurate, and the Kanye West rant is hard to watch, as that same year, Burnham announced he would be stepping away from live performances due to anxiety and panic attacks on stage. Throughout these shows, he always seemed like he didn't want to be there. He hasn't done a live performance since. Instead, he reverted to writing and directing his feature film 8th Grade that was critically acclaimed. Burnham later directed comedy specials for Jared Carmichael and Chris Rock, contributed songs to the Sesame Street film, acted in an acclaimed film Promising Young Woman, and was cast as Larry Bird in HBO's Winning Time, though he later left due to scheduling conflicts. Heading into 2020, Bo was starting to feel a lot better about himself mentally, looking to make his long-awaited comeback to stand-up. But then, something funny happened. This halted all future plans for Bo's comeback, but it inspired him to try something else. Unable to leave his home, Burnham performed and filmed a musical special inside in a single room, providing updates on time passing as his hair and beard grew. The special was filmed in the guest house of his Los Angeles home with his then girlfriend. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, he worked alone without a crew or audience. Footage was captured from March 2020 to May 2021, documenting his experience throughout the pandemic. Burnham broke his social media hiatus with an announcement for Inside on April 28th, and it was released on May 30th, 2021. Alright, let's go inside Bo Burnham. Pause. It's a departure from his typical use of piano to incorporate synths and drums. Content sees Bo make this comeback similar to his absent father. He's not actually absent, he's actually a good dude. He comes back with the milk, aka some content for his fans after years of being out of the public eye. He illustrates how unprepared and anxious he was during the COVID-19 lockdown. This worldwide event gave him inspiration to create the special. It's almost like a return to his old roots of being stuck in a room creating YouTube videos to keep himself occupied. Look who's inside again. Comedy follows a similar message told in previous Bo Burnham songs where he finds comedy and laughter to be the answer to world peace, especially in a time like this. However, he still wonders if it's a good idea to joke at such a terrible time. Either way, he finds himself to be this heroic white guy that strives to comfort his audience, creating this pressure for him to come out of retirement. That's the mission here. Bo wants to heal the world with comedy. So what can Bo talk about to make us laugh in the 2020s decade without stepping over the line? The world and the internet, of course. How the World Works is this children's sing-along sounding piece that starts off rather normal, talking about how the world can work only if everyone works together. This is until he brings out his sock puppet Socko that goes on a political rant about capitalism and genocide. Bo eventually has to shut the sock puppet up before it says too much. It's likely how Bo feels about himself, where he can't willingly share his views without being censored. That is just how the world works. He goes on to talk about a white woman's Instagram where everything displayed publicly may appear to be positive and innocent, until he reaches a post about her mother who passed away. After seeing this, all the previous posts, from the open window, to the poem written in the sand, to a simple glass of wine, have a whole new meaning. There's certainly a lot of stereotypes being listed, but maybe this is this woman's way of dealing with this loss, trying to make people believe her life is too good to be true. Unpaid Intern is a jazz-inspired tune about unfortunate situations where interns are doing work for companies with no payment. This just happens to transition into the popular Bezos and sequel Bezos 2 that criticizes the glorification of rich people to get away with situations like having interns work for no payment. Amateurs can suck it. That's how the world works. Similar to Welcome to YouTube, we get an updated, mature sequel, Welcome to the Internet, showing the highs and lows of what can be discovered on the internet to keep your mind distracted. It's the dangers of an unsupervised kid on the internet running into content that could dismantle their poor innocent mind. We learn more about Bo's lockdown experience on FaceTime with My Mom, where he spends 40 minutes talking to his mother and sometimes father just to waste time in this seemingly endless, repetitive lockdown cycle where the days bleed into each other. We were all feeling like shit. We didn't feel like showering, brushing our teeth, or washing out clothes. We just sank into our depression. We were all bored at home and found ourselves struggling to find something productive to do with all this free time. This led to people desperately participating in the act of sexting with their partners as they couldn't reach each other in person. But it also led Bo to do a lot of self-reflection about his career as a whole, wondering if his problematic comedy did more harm than good to the earth. Either that or he is mocking the concept of cancel culture and celebrities' insincere apologies for their past actions. It's complicated because I feel like he's trying to criticize the over-the-top cancel culture crucifixion of a person while also apologizing for his past offensive remarks to show his audience he's matured. He is a comedian. I feel like anyone should know that Bo genuinely doesn't mean to hurt anyone. His purpose is to heal the world with comedy, right? This topic of growth bridges into 30 where he realizes, damn, I'm getting old. He becomes insecure, attacking the younger generation almost like he's having a manic episode due to the fact that he hadn't progressed in life the way he expected to. He wanted to have this special done by his 30th birthday and yet he fails to. This brings us to the halfway point where he doesn't want to know if his audience is still paying attention, fearing a negative reaction that makes him feel insecure about why he might be doing this in the first place. Bo now finds himself to be at an all-time low where he feels his entire world is falling apart and he might end up dying. The switch in mood during this track is abrupt, where he goes from a depressing message to his fans about his mental state in a dry tone to upbeat, happier tone where he feels like he's going to die. It perfectly describes how he feels often on stage. Soon enough, he picks up an acoustic guitar to list out a bunch of topics that give him this funny feeling knowing these things actually exist. It's fascinating, but he also worries for the future of humanity. We can't do anything about it, can we? Well, this takes us to the most haunting, disturbing song of his entire discography. All Eyes on Me, the bizarre pitch-down vocal effects and dark pop production that illustrates Bo's anxiety and panic attacks when performing live that led to his retirement. Bo seems to make himself the center of attention here to cope with how hard it is for him to share these deeply personal moments. Just when he thought he was about to come back after feeling much better, a lockdown happened, destroying all future plans. The fake crowd laughter only displays how tragic his situation is. He finally got back on his feet, just to be shut back down. I'm not shocked this won a Grammy. Fantastic song. At least he gives us one last goodbye, where he feels like he's gone completely crazy. Wild how at the start he was trying to be the hero, saving the world with comedy, only to lose himself. He might have given us the content we wanted, but at the expense of his own health. Thankfully, the lockdown has been lifted and we are all now back to a normal life. I guess he was right when he said it'll stop any day now. To the shock of no one, the musical special was critically acclaimed and was more commercially successful than anybody expected. Bezos, All Eyes on Me, and Welcome to the Internet were massive on the TikTok app, surpassing 100 million streams and being certified platinum in the United States. The soundtrack inside the songs peaked at number 7, selling 37,000 copies, and was later certified platinum. It was a fascinating phenomenon, but it makes sense as we were approaching the end of the COVID lockdown. The film perfectly described what most people were going through during that tragic time. There's since been a deluxe of outtakes released during its first anniversary, with 1985 being a massive streaming hit. Bo feared what people would think about his lockdown production while making it, but it ended up becoming his most successful work to date. I'm not sure if he'll ever tour it, but man, would I love to see Bo Burnham come back when he feels better. Maybe this acclaim will encourage him, or maybe he feels like he has a massive chip on his shoulder now. Either way, I was entertained by Bo Burnham's output for his ambition to risk his entire image for entertainment. It's clear that he was a perfectionist that strived to make his productions the best they could be. He only improved thematically and musically as he matured. I hope to see you outside again, Bo. Make sure to love all, and peace.
Love me.